No, I'm afraid he is concerned. He is is trying to understand what happens with his flight. Maybe if fly to Sydney, because there is a strike of the airlines, the 26, and he's going to leave exactly the 26. Well, okay, so let's start. I see Alberto is connected, but he is not on his seat. And okay,
He is.
we have him again. Alberto, what happened?
Yes, I have a big problem.
You
There
have
is
a
a
strike.
strike. There is a strike of the airports of Italy Friday when I have to leave.
Oh my God. And then what happens?
I don't know. Probably I won't. I will not be able to attend from the beginning the IAC. See if it is confirmed that the flight is cancelled.
Okay. Then they
I learned it 5 minutes ago because the news has come out now of the strike. I received no indication about
is the airport of Malpensa or
all
what?
Italy, all Italian airports.
All Italian airports.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Good. So not good, but however, I think we can start this meeting, and maybe Dennis and Wes have an agenda to propose, and I also proposed an agenda. So let's see if we have some more points to be added. Just a moment, I can share.
I read your agenda in the email, Adriano, and everything I wanted to talk about is already in the agenda. So I don't have anything to add.
I've read both too, and I agree with that. Right now, this is the if I could only add one thing to it, which has probably already been done, but just to make sure that that the last committee on peace, full blown plenary of the Committee on Peaceful Uses of Outer Space. Last time I checked, they hadn't formally put out our. It was either the conference room paper or our SRI's full statement under their documentation system. They do have the videos out, but they didn't have the PDF version out, which is the minor. It's a minor issue, but I just want to make sure that that's well documented on their end because.
So you mean we need to check to check what to check sorry,
to check what documents that we've submitted to them that they've that you know that the Office of Outer Space Affairs
documents
reflected
were published.
Correct.
By Copos.
That's it. And the only
I have.
Sorry, Dennis,
I have the. I'm sorry. I have the link for two of the papers that we submitted. I believe both were submitted during the legal subcommittee session, but I will send those to the group.
Okay.
Okay. Great. So, okay, so the agenda that we have is SRI 4 World Congress, call for papers, space policy session, review, abstract, and list of topics. So we will go on the website of the Congress and see what we have online. So we see if it is okay, if we have to add something, to change something, and so on. Then we have to think about a paper on the UN Space 2030 agenda and 18 SDG for COPOS, because COPOS proposed us to submit another paper on the 18 SDG within December, so within the end of this year. Then review and comment on the work of the UN Couple Space Resources Working Group. It is maybe what Dennis was proposing too, correct?
Yes.
And then We speak for settlers, part of our presentation to the LSC this spring, that it is maybe our most important point working with couples. And yeah, it concerned our position against the possible new colonialism and the concept that the space resources belong to settlers and shouldn't be conceived as something to bring on Earth and be exploited on Earth, let's say. Mainly, of course, some things should be, of course, brought to Earth. The works, which works we have to do before the legal subcommittee in 2026, and who we want to invite to our Congress to be keynote speakers on the subject of space law, and to present papers, to register to the Congress and submit paper abstracts. And also, who of us is thinking about presenting an abstract and a paper for our Congress. And the last point, what Wes just suggested, to check which SRI documents were published by Corpus so far. So if we don't have other points, anyone has some point to be added?
I would just suggest that number 6 and number 1 are very closely related, and you may end up talking about them at the same time.
Agreed.
They're both about the Congress.
Yes. It's
One
about
has to do with papers,
Yes.
others the
Yeah.
people.
Yes, you're right. Let's put them together. Okay. So, well, okay, if the agenda is approved, we can go ahead and maybe see the, okay, stop sharing now.
Yeah.
And I will pick up the website of the Congress. And share it. Okay, so this is the website. As you see, I have changed the header picture because this is better, because we have children and we have people of different ethnic groups and so on.
And possibly one alien in the background.
Yes, one alien maybe.
Okay.
Well, however, okay, this is just, we're still waiting for better pictures that some artists should be working for that.
It's a step in the right direction. Let me just say that. It's better.
But you left out the robots.
Robot,
be there.
yeah, also a robot, why not? Yes.
Yeah.
They're
Oh, yeah,
all
something-
robots.
There we go.
However, okay, where is the space policy? Okay, here it is. So we have this abstract, very short, so I can read it. The session will reflect SRI work as an observer at Corpus and the initiatives being carried both in the UN environment and society at large. We wish to stress the fundamental importance of space development for planetary sustainability and peace on Earth. Although it is very difficult to predict the real problems that the space pioneers will certainly encounter, we support civilian space development as a social process in contributing to develop worthwhile proposals of regulations and ethical standards to accompany, not to precede, the development of the incoming cislunar economy. Avoiding the militarization of space and supporting a comprehensive ban on placement of weapons in space is a priority. Keeping alive and expanding the Outer Space Treaty with regard to further agreements, space resources, property, and utilization. To these ends, we have proposed the inclusion of an 18th Sustainable Development Goal, space for all on Earth and beyond, to act as a technologically enabled clearinghouse for rapidly growing space affairs within the upcoming years. SRI invites the discussion with partners and friends about the validity of our positions and the efficacy of our actions to support them. We are open to criticism, constructive proposals, and other suggestions. Then we have a list of topics proposed. Of course, these are our proposals, and the presenters that will submit the abstract can choose one or more than of these topics or propose their own topics. They are not obliged to work with our list. However, Space 18 SDG, okay, we know what it is. Astropolitics, risk of space wars or opportunity for peace. 3, clearing the ambiguities of the Outer Space Treaty. That was also one of our last
Papers.
papers that we presented at Scopus. Space economy, an extraordinary, unexpected growth, now leading global economy, good for, oh my God, why? Okay, the battery is running out. Okay, I just forgot to put it in the plug.
I thought it was mine. You had me fooled. Sorry.
Okay. Good perspective and criticalities. Use of space resources, moon, asteroids, Mars, and beyond. Space resources, who are the owners? Space settlers, according to our position. Priority, industrializing the geolunar space region versus Mars City. Space for peace, a UN flag on the moon, the design of a comprehensive ban of weapons in space, associated agreements and mechanisms. A review of the UN Couples Space Resources Working Group. We speak for the settlers, focus on principles, projects that would support a permanent and ultimately autonomous, independent human presence in outer space. Space for peace, a UN flag on the moon, a comprehensive ban on weapons in space. A critical review of the UN Space 2030 agenda, proposed amendments adding civilian space development to the agenda. Human rights in space, the rights of space workers, space settlers, and space communities. The permanent space revolution, 100% inclusivity, helping new entry countries to join civilian space development. How to establish a legal framework to allow the recovery of big space wreckages and their possible reuse. History of collaboration and friendship in space, how to continue this virtuous tradition. So thinking about the Apollo-Soyuz meeting and MIR and the ISS and so on, the history of collaboration and friendship in space. So these are the topics that we were able to think and to put together, and of course they reflect our work that we have made during the last years, and also what the positions that we expressed in our big position papers about the criticalities toward 2030 and our suggestions and so on. So these are, in our opinion, the the subjects of a discussion, congressional discussion on space law. So, what do you think?
And can I submit to abstracts for number 3, number 4, number 6, and 14? Or like, do you want? Would you like somebody to, the same person to go 4 different times? Because I could do that too. But or should
Yes, of course. When you okay, I show you what you're requested to do when you submit an abstract.
it can cover multiple, like can
You
one
you only have to choose, for instance, okay, so we are space. You choose space philosophy and policy, the symposium. Then you choose the space policy session, and if you choose the space policy session, you see all the points, but you are not requested to choose one or more of these.
Okay.
So you can put your abstract title and then
put this applies to points number 3, 4, and
yes, you can
okay.
talk about several points or even other points that are not included here.
That's what I will do.
Yeah.
Adriano, a couple suggestions, some feedback.
Please.
Yeah, no. One was, I think one area that was kind of addressed indirectly, but I think one gap. These are all good topics. One gap is governance. What we lack. One of the fundamental problems of outer space right now is, yes, we have the Outer Space Treaty, right, which many of you know kind of acts as the Magna Carta of outer space in a way, sets the foundational principles, but we lack the governance structure, right? The implementation of those principles in any active way beyond some best practices, voluntary action. So I think putting in the description at the opening paragraph, plus adding one more area on the space policy related to something like equitable and sustainable governance structures for
So you mean
development of outer space, particularly as we develop the moon and we go onto Mars, we need those formalized governance structures, because right now it's kind of like the Wild West, right? We're hoping people do it. It's voluntary. There's some best practices, but that is a gap in what's going on.
Yeah, that's the entire reason for the Artemis Accords, was to fill that gap. So yeah, we need space governance.
Yeah, but they're just principles, it's not a governance system.
They're
what I'm
just
talking about is
principles
something that goes beyond the principles, something that, okay, here's how we implement these principles. Something like, okay, an example would be like the international regime to govern the exportation of lunar resources, right? You have the International Deep Seabed Authority, or I think they call it now the International Seabed Authority, for governing the exploitation of resources in the deep seabed.
But the idea is to set up some kind of conflict resolution system.
You could learn from the mistakes of those other models for sure, but
it sounds like there's already a spectrum of opinion as to what should be in space governance. So maybe space governance should be a topic, and then it would allow people to submit papers throughout that whole spectrum on that one area.
No, exactly. That's my whole point. Let's just make a topic called space governance. We don't have to specify it.
Yeah, I think yes, it's a very good suggestion. We have to add space governance. Great.
And the other point is, I would take out. I know it's well-meaning, but you can't really be in opposition to militarization of outer space, because that's the norm. That's been accepted. The militarization of outer space has been accepted under the doctrine of peaceful uses. You can be against the weaponization, and you can be against the active installation of military bases and personnel to some extent and some level. There's some consensus on that. But you can't oppose militarization. That you're not going to have much interest, and you're going to disengage from the broader mainstream community of folks who may be interested in working with us.
Which number is that?
That wasn't a number, but it was in the opening paragraph. You mentioned
Oh,
opposition to militarization. And the opposition, I think, should be specific to weaponization and maybe military bases, because that's an area too that there is some interesting international consensus, that we don't
instead,
want military personnel in an active military installation in outer space. There is some consensus to oppose that, but not in the use of outer space to support war fighting on the ground. That's just a norm that has been accepted, since the rise of the space age.
But think about the following. I mean, in the ESA convention, it says exclusively peaceful purposes. And then you cover everything. And of course, none of us, I hope, will be in favor of aggressive militarization. So therefore, what we are looking forward is that space can be used also for defense, right? And therefore, I'm very happy with this ESA wording of, and this is already since 75, last century, exclusively peaceful purpose, because that covers everything, defense, etc.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe even having a session on that, what are the ways to constrain the militarization of outer space so it doesn't go to the aggressive, area, it doesn't spill over into weaponization. It's all about constraining that, right? It's not prohibiting it, but it's containing how much militarization is tolerable.
Well,
perhaps,
and that goes with Space Command, where they refer to their members as guardians, as they guard the peace of space.
perhaps instead of declaring an opposition up front, we could just say that we want to discuss the role of militarization in outer space in light of the OST's requirement for the peaceful use of outer space. In
Yes.
other words, making it one of those open-ended things again.
Yeah. Okay.
Just like I was suggesting with that one topic. Discuss militarization in the context of the peaceful uses of outer space. That would be the shortest way to say it.
Well,
I think that's well worded, yeah.
we can put
Yeah.
it in the form of a discussion, because we have some positions inside SRI that are for no weapons in space, not only mass destruction, but any weapon in space. So I think that if somebody wants to present a paper sustaining this principle, should be free to do it. We can just put a question about militarization. Will militarization of space be an obstacle to the civilian space development or not?
Even better.
This could be a good question, I think, no, to be added to the topics maybe.
It absolutely should. Why not? Yeah.
No, I think I'm not sure if obstacle's the best way. I mean, I would suggest, first you have to draw a distinction between militarization and weaponization, although one could spill over into the other, but the social constructs are different for both of those. In my mind, it's about how do you best contain and constrain militarization so that it falls under the accepted international norms regarding the peaceful uses of outer space, which means primarily used for passive purposes, right? Data collection, intelligence, reconnaissance, GPS, et cetera, for war fighting on the ground, but no active militarization independent of the support of the war fighter on the ground. So I think
Exactly.
it's
You
more
don't
about
want
constraining.
exactly. You don't want anti-satellite systems, for example. You want
Right, but
satellites
that's
should
not,
be.
yeah, but that's
I know they
weaponization.
exist, but that's one of the issues that really would probably move it in that direction. Because there's a slippery slope from anti-satellite systems to counter weapons.
No, I would agree with you, Thomas, but I think we need to, militarization and weaponization are two distinct issues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could put your sensors up there to observe the Earth, but in the battlefield, or use your GPS or communications. But destruction warfare is off limits.
Exactly, exactly.
And that's harder to say in one sentence than it would be if more of a conversation was opening up on it. So that's how you do that.
But I think Dennis had a good point. I think the topic really is ways in which, or however the wording is, I'll just throw it out there, ways in which to ensure that militarization falls within the peaceful uses of outer space.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one.
Yeah, passive militarization, basically.
Exactly, because that's essentially what we're talking about, is making sure that militarization doesn't go beyond passive use.
Yes.
What about jamming, spoofing? Is that weaponization?
That's
That's
usually on the
considered,
ground,
yes.
though.
No, it's not on the ground. You could do it from satellites.
Well,
course.
yeah, but then that's where you start sliding down the slope.
That's what I wanted to say. So we have to be careful with the wording. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that is a good point. I think, in my sense, I work a lot with the military folks all the time. I'm here in Colorado. I've been involved with the Space Foundation, the National Space Symposium. I've trained people. I've known generals. I know the Space Force folks. Counter space is considered something much more aggressive, right? You go into the counter space doctrine in counter space systems, you are getting into aggressive attack, ways of conducting warfare. It's beyond passive use. So that would be, we have to word it in such a way where we discuss these issues, right? Counter space does get in the way of what we want to do. So that is a good point.
Oh, we have Amalie, finally. Yes, I think she has many things to say about this point. Hello, Amalie.
Hello, Adriano. Sorry to be late. I can catch up.
We are discussing a point that is of high interest for you, I think, because we are talking about militarization and weaponization.
Yes, I can see the list here.
Yeah, and yes, so we have already accepted a suggestion to add a point, a topic about governance, because it was missing in the list of topics, and we are now thinking what we could add about militarization, because it's also a very controversial point of discussion. And I have just written in the chat to add a topic about militarization and weaponization and peaceful use of outer space.
But isn't number 2 covering that?
Number 2, astropolis, risk of space war or opportunity for peace. Yeah, but this is a broader
Okay.
concept, I think. So we have to add something about specifically the weaponization and make a question. There will be room for civilian space development, because this is the important thing for us, I think, no? Because, yeah.
Yeah, what is this? What are you preparing this for specifically? Is for the Congress or for the UN paper or women? Sorry, I'm not following you. I understand you're laying it out here, the document. What is the use for that? What are you preparing?
Okay, this document, this is the form.
For the Congress. All right, with you. Yeah, no,
for
sorry.
papers, abstract submission. Yeah, but also in the call for papers description, we have the same thing. plus a, sorry, have to reach in the point, the correct point, space policy, okay. So you see, we have a short abstract that I think you know it because we discussed it together before publishing, and our proposed topics. So
Yeah.
in the form, you find the topics, but not the abstract. However, okay, this is what we have. So
The topics, you're filling the topics out a bit here then. Yeah.
Everyone, on the subject of governance, I have a copy of a paper by Thomas dated January 6th, 2024, a lunar governance proposal. So, Thomas, you might want to do something relating to that for the Congress.
Well, as I was telling Adriano, I may not be able to take part in it because of the fact that we're associated now with the International Lunar Research Station. So,
Well,
under the laws in Texas, because we've associated ourselves with a Chinese project. So,
but this is talking about the SRI
the
Congress,
conference paper,
not
perhaps.
talking about
Yeah,
working
let me see if
anyone
I
else.
could take part in the conference.
Yes, I don't see there should be any objection to that. The other paper I have is from the project which I ran, 12 years ago now, at the British Interplanetary Society to update the design for Island 1, because when it was originally put forward in 1970, Gerard O'Neill deliberately restricted it to the technology that was available at the time, so that nobody could say, well, it isn't possible because it depends on things we haven't invented. So I set up the space project, as we called it, to update the Island 1 design based on the advances in technology that had taken place over the last 40 years. And one of the subjects we discovered that we covered was governance of the space habitat. So I could do a presentation relating to that.
excellent, very good.
Okay. I'll add it to my list.
Yeah. So, okay, I also have noted that in the form, in the abstract submission form, the list of topic is not complete. There are only 13, while here in the abstract we have 16. So I have to add to complete the list with the 14, 15, and 16 in the form that we were seeing before. Okay. Anything else?
Well, about the paper for the UN, the 2030 agenda, we were going to submit a second paper by the end of the year, and I'm not
Yes.
sure what happened with the organizing the if an abstract was needed and where it would be submitted.
Yeah,
there was some
I can't find out.
correspondence. Yes. Where's
Are you
do
sure
have-
it's not related to the closest I could find from either I remember it being up on the UNOSA's website at some point, and then it's either changed the link or took it down. I still can't find exactly what conference that would be for, but the closest I could come to is they have a space law conference authorizing space sustainability on the 19th to the 20th of November. Do you think that might have been what was that it?
I'm sorry, is this Wes? No.
Yes.
No, nothing to do with that. There was the 2030 agenda, Space 2030 agenda.
Okay.
That entire program. Well, we submitted one paper. Adriano had submitted a critique of this some time ago. I mean, that was nearly a year ago. So in June, when we were in Vienna, I was there with Marie-Louise and Werner. There was an announcement saying that the program was available for further submission, that they weren't going to close it. They would accept additional submissions till the end of the year.
Okay.
So we went and asked the organizers, look, we've already made one submission. Adriano never actually found out if that was published, but anyway, it was sent to them. There was correspondence, they received it. They already got one submission from us, but they were willing to accept a second submission. So we decided we would, write a paper about the 18th SDG and submit that to the program. So it goes to the same place that it went to before. So the problem was that when we went to ask if they would take the second submission, we could prepare a second paper for them. They said, okay, but can you fill in a form describing that, and with an abstract, a form describing who you were, the applicant form, which contained a short abstract. They wanted this form filled in, but we didn't take the URL of the form. We don't have the form, so
that's right. That's just correct. It's and so did they ever answer to? Did anybody ever ask them? Can they provide the link to the form or?
So far, I haven't. I mean, I've asked Adriano. I think I've asked a couple of times. I can't find anything, and I'm not sure who to write to obtain it. So, I mean, I can follow this up myself.
That's not Amalie. That's not a problem. I have I can give you the addresses of the people to write. I know who they are.
Okay, all right, thanks. And I can write and clarify if there's a form and where we send the paper when it's prepared. So we don't have that much time now because September, October, November. So over the next few weeks, this paper needs to be prepared and submitted, I think, unless there's a problem. That was what we were given to understand, that they would accept it. So we thought to take that opportunity for a second paper on the 18th.
Good. Yes, we have it. We have it in our agenda since some months. This point, but honestly,
good. If you give me the address, I will find out and get this lined up, ready to go. If you can just give me the contact information so that I can make an inquiry. All right, thank you, Adriano.
Great. Yes. Honestly, I was not able so far to prepare an abstract for that, and and now I am fully concentrated.
Yes, okay, I can do it.
Sorry.
Pretty good idea what goes in there. I can write an outline. It's okay.
Wait, that's one has finished to talk before start talking. Otherwise, we don't understand anything more.
Yeah, I'll send an outline for review. All right.
I'm saying that I hope that someone will take the responsibility to prepare this abstract. And it can be, in my opinion, it can be on the 18 SDG to repropose it, because also I know that we have some other interesting contact because Robert Katz was discussing with the Canadian embassy during the last weeks. And he was also trying to hold an event at the Canadian embassy in New York during the General Assembly, the UN GA 80. And so I don't know if this tentative was successful or not. And Robert is not communicating very much in this period. Probably he is having problems. But however, he was trying to do that. So I think we have countries that could be interested to support the proposal for next year, of course. And therefore, I think we have to retake the work on the 18 SDG, and this should be part of our Congress too, and to go ahead. So we also have a session, a proper session on this base 18 SDG. So we will have a meeting about that as soon as possible.
What is interesting is the well, anyway, talk about technology, but the usage, the 18th SDG, it could be very expedient platform for as a clearinghouse because of the amount of demands, the very rapidly growing boundary there, the amount of information that needs collating and referring and collecting. So having an SDG dedicated can be very good expedient methods with using modern technology and communications technology and so on, that can be very helpful to expedite it, because the UN's only so big, but you have a technological hub. But I mentioned this idea to a few people and with very positive feedback about that. So it's a modernization concept. Anyway.
Yeah, I think that in the same paper focused on the 18 SDG, we can also retake the criticism of the Space UN 2030 agenda. So we can combine the two things together in this paper. So if somebody will draft an abstract, then we can see it and finalize it and go ahead to drive.
I'll do it. I've been thinking carefully. I will definitely send an outline.
Okay.
Probably within the next week or two.
Great.
So, but I'd like to contact the organizers. So anyway, thank you, Adriano. If you can send me the contact information, I'll do that.
Okay, so Amalie to draft an abstract for the 18 SDG paper for couples. Ok, molto bene. So let's try to go ahead. What do we have now? Okay, let's complete the point of the Congress about the invitations and organizational tasks. As you know, we have created a task force for the Congress, and the taking care of all the organizational tasks, the website, the invitations, and a lot of other things that should be done. And I don't know if somebody of this committee, or the Space Policy Committee, is part of the task force. Maybe not. So maybe some of us, yeah, Jerry, only Jerry, maybe. Yeah, Jerry, you are part of the Congress task force.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, does anybody else want to be part of the task force, of the Congress task force? It could be
Come
useful.
on.
Not all together, not too many. Okay. Well, okay, let's see what we can do.
At the moment, I don't think we can have too many.
No, we cannot have too many, of course. But one thing I need, it is all of us to contribute names of people to be invited to the Congress and to submit a paper and so on. So please take an action item for all of us, each one of us, to contribute some names of people to be invited. And possibly you can also do, if you know those people and you prefer to do it yourself, it would be even better. However, we will add their emails in the list that we will write, send our newsletters and so on. So we try to have a big list of people to invite and to solicit to present abstracts and so on. So this is a warm recommendation to to provide names of people to be invited. Just send the list to me or to the group. It's the same. Okay. Amalie.
Yes, I think there was a mail, I think it was about a few weeks ago, where you were asking us to set dates for the Space Policy Committee meetings through 2026.
Yes.
Two or 3 or 4 meetings. And I wrote back and said, could we put dates that kind of coordinate with the corpus programs so that we can use those as a springboard for whatever the presentations are at the UN, how to coordinate the dates in 2026.
Okay.
But the
So
corpus programs, they haven't published the dates, but they're usually in the first few months, and then in June there's 3 meetings there. So 3 programs at the
okay.
UN we can attend if we can have the meetings of the committee, use that framework, and
As
then
you can see,
we can target.
as you can see, we have 3 dates. We have the 9th of December, 9th of December, the first one. And then we have the 24th of February and the 26th of May.
Okay, usually the way, even though they haven't posted the official schedule yet, it usually goes the scientific and technical subcommittee sometime in February, the legal subcommittee sometime late March, early April, and then the full plenary COPA in June. So that's
Yes,
probably how they're
in
going to do
fact,
that.
my intention was exactly this one, to have the December meeting to prepare the February COPUOS session. That will be, I think, will be before the 24th.
Because we're going to need that. We got a lot more of the meat and the comments on the working group for space resources that I don't even know if we're going to be able to get to today. So we're going to definitely need that meeting, because that's yeah.
Okay. So this was the idea, and as you see, okay, what you see in blue bold is already scheduled, as the legenda say. You see, scheduled. These meetings are scheduled, while the green. The light green are only planned but not scheduled yet. So the Zoom meeting is not scheduled so far, but I will do. And if we confirm these dates, I will do, of course.
Well, I could always change the dates when we get when they publish the dates. And
Exactly. When they publish the dates of the LSC and the ST,
We'll do that.
the Scientific Technical Committee, we can change our dates, of course, to accord the things better. Okay. What else? So, okay, about the paper, we have said, I think we have decided what to do. Then, okay, review and comment the work of UN Couple Space Resources Working Group. Is any of us want to make a report on that?
Dennis already has. I sent it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Thanks, Wes. That has been my focus for the last couple of years. Actually, ever since they started the Space Resources Working Group. I sent to this group, I think yesterday, an update on the most relevant issues. There were three of them, and all three. Well, let me back up a step. After a couple years of talking, the chair of the group, the man from Australia, whose name I forget, compiled all of the policies that everyone in the group had fully agreed to. I think they call it general agreement or general understanding, to use the diplomatic word. So that was the first batch of policies. But then there was a second part, which were policies that some member state had proposed, but didn't yet have the general understanding of the entire Space Resources Working Group. And that's where the real debate, so to speak, fruitful discussion is going to occur. And there were three of those that had particular importance to Space Renaissance International. One had to do with the removal of resources from in place, and a statement that that was not inherently appropriation. That's very high on our policies, at least from the last 5 years I've been listening to people's statements and the papers that we've written. The second one had to do with the sharing of information and our general opinion that we think sharing is a good thing, but we need to respect the intellectual property laws of each individual state. That's part of being able to introduce the private sector into outer space, because Thomas is expert on this. Companies need that. It's part of the ways companies generate profit or even capital in such a high tech, on the edge of information activity. The third one, I in my email yesterday, I described it as environmental protection, but it goes a little bit beyond just the environment. It also is that whole thing about sites of special interest for scientific, cultural, or historical reasons, and even a small point about not depleting resources, although the process of governing that is very speculative. My general point was that if we want the other parties to accept the ownership of resources removed from in place and the protection of intellectual property rights, then we should also take on the responsibilities of not messing up the lunar environment or whatever outer space environment. And again, the email goes into details. It actually lists the proposed policy statements on those principles. They call them principles. And so my general advice to this group is that in our ongoing work with the Space Resources Working Group at the UN, we continue to support those 3 policy initiatives, and that we want them to be accepted as principles within the general understanding of the full group and not just put in the second tier. So that's the summary of our work so far and in the near future, probably, with the Space Resources Working Group. We started that last year or earlier this year with our conference paper and presentation. We called that Clarifying Ambiguities in the Outer Space Treaty.
Yes.
That was our starting point, and that's been going on for some years. This group has had some very good discussions in that direction. Things are now becoming a little more focused with the revelation of what the UN working group has been doing, and they've actually drafted now these sets of principles, some with full acceptance, others not yet full acceptance. And that's where an observer like us, if it's appropriate to bring our perspective, both in a written statement, we're allowed to make written statements to the Space Resources Working Group. The chair welcomes those at any time from states and observers. And then, of course, at next year's LSC meeting, the legal subcommittee meeting, where there's a much stronger focus on that and can be part of our presentation there. That's how the process would work.
Should we all congratulate ourselves so far on the work that's been done within that? Here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I will mention one other thing, Wes, that you remind me of. There's one thing that they're not doing, the Space Resource Working Group, that we think is important, and that is the rights of settlers and settlements. Again, we do that more than anyone else. Right. So much that we've come up with the phrase, we speak for the settlers. And on that, we are championing 2 declarations. One is the Declaration of Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which Wes has been pointing out the advantages of that, and there are several. And the other, which Adriano brought up, is the Declaration on the Right of Development, which sounds kind of dry, but when you read it, it actually has some very almost prophetic and inspiring language about the rights of human beings to go out into space or anywhere and manifest themselves in doing and building things. So even though that's not quite germane to the topic of the Space Resources Working Group, I see that as the 4th main area of our advocacy before the United Nations.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense on the last 2 points, because those are 2 declarations put by the UN itself a long time ago.
Yes. But they are
really
they're voluntary.
Yeah.
You know,
I know. It's nobody's forcing anybody.
Right. But I think it's helpful if at least one organization, especially us, keeps reminding them of it. You know, just a little thorn in the side, or some nicer metaphor. I think it helps if it keeps being brought up.
I think nudge is the word you're looking for.
Nudge is a good word. Thank you. Very diplomatic. Thank you.
Good.
So I think that I think that several of these arguments we discussed in our position paper, because I remember we were talking about the small asteroids that are to be considered maybe like raw materials more than celestial bodies, and we were talking about which international agreements were good and which were not. Do you remember this discussion? So I remember we made a table thinking about the seabed agreement and other agreements that now I don't remember, that can be used as positive or negative reference for thinking about a new space law system. So yes, I think we have made a big work during the last 2-3 years on these points. So maybe it would be worth to have one or more papers in our Congress, putting all together in a organic way all of these things. And maybe Dennis, you are the best one can.
I would be willing to take that on. I try very hard to work with the group and incorporate ideas rather than dismiss them. I have learned a lot over the last few years from this group that has expanded my own perceptions. So I would be willing to continue that process. Again, what's new now is that we'll be responding to these new principles and quasi-principles that were released in July, I believe. And we'll be making specific recommendations as to how they would proceed. But yes, I will. I'm willing to do the 200. One, the comments to the Space Resources Working Group, which we would probably send around January or something. And then secondly, the actual conference room paper itself, which will be similar. I'll work. I would be willing to compile information on both of those.
Next year we have to think about three kind of things. One is our Congress that we should have papers that then contribute to our final resolution. That will be our important statement for the next 5 years. First, second, the COPUOS sessions and the General Assembly. And third, the IAC that will be in Turkey, in Antalya next year. Unfortunately, the IAF only wants unpublished papers. So if we want to present in the three situations, the same concept, we have to rewrite them 3 times, I think. But it would not be well. I think that different context, because at COPUOS we can only make a technical presentation of 10 minutes or a speech of 3 minutes now. They during the last meetings they limited the time. No more anymore 5 minutes, but 3 minutes, because they have to save, because they have a reduced budget and they have to save money. Okay, so
but just to clarify one more thing from with the suggested this working group specifically does welcome any and all commentary from organizations with the status like ours. They specifically asked for this, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well,
we're no longer on the outside looking in with that.
I think Thomas wanted to say something, and
Sorry.
Amalie too.
Yeah, Dennis, it strikes me a useful thing would also be developing a definition of settlers versus explorers. Someone that goes to the moon for a few months on a base is not really a settler. A settler is someone that goes there with the intention to live permanently. And maybe to start differentiating between that and between a base on the moon and a community. Because the community is intended to be there semi-permanently with succeeding generations, where a base is just there like, the South Pole base. Someone goes there for a few months of research and comes back. And it might be useful to start getting in people's minds there's a difference. One, people are calling the moon home forever. And the other one, they're just going there, collecting some rocks and coming back.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, that's true.
And get that idea going, in terms of, who are the settlers we speak for? We're speaking for those that are going to go there and call it home.
There is a little bit of overlap.
There
as
is.
as our friend Keith Henson pointed out, the right of what's it called? When someone goes to another sanctuary, the right to claim political sanctuary, it's probably something that should apply whether someone's a visitor or a base worker or a permanent settler.
Yep.
So there's a little overlap in how
Right,
specific
there's a bit.
things. But I understand your point that there is an essential difference, and ultimately a difference in governance.
Yeah, and even
which,
someone claiming sanctuary, the intention part of it is now they want to stay there and live permanently there instead of going back.
that is one, yeah.
That could be part of the intention, that if you claim sanctuary, you're saying, I don't want to go back to where I was. I want to be part of this new community.
Yes, that sounds like a good science fiction novel.
Yeah, I think there has been one or two. I think the
Yeah.
Ben Boba covered out on the moon where his moon war, where some of the prisoners decided that UN sent up there decided some of the troops the UN set up decided they wanted to stay there and not go back.
Precisely.
His moon war novel. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
But who are we talking about when we're talking about senators? We're not talking about some base that's going to be there for a year and you have rotation like at South Pole. We're talking about someone that this is home.
It does open up, when you focus like that, it does open up other questions like to what extent, what is the transition process for a group of people to become at least autonomous, if not fully independent?
And how should they be recognized by the UN as an independent community now, independent state? Some of the member nations of the UN, they're not very big. They have 5,000 to 6,000 people.
Yes.
So it doesn't necessarily mean there has to be a lot, just that they are independent.
Right. There's that whole, is it the Montevideo Convention that talks about what a proto-nation needs to do to become recognized? And there are like four specific areas. So that's a very good discussion. And we certainly, in some way, I don't know if we can raise that successfully too much at the UN, but it could be one of the focuses for our own Congress or even a paper presented to the IAC.
Yeah, one of the discussions that needs to be had.
I think you're right. And maybe it's not too soon to do that.
Okay. Maybe Tom, if you cannot do it with your name, you can use a pseudonym to present paper for our Congress.
Well, the conference may be okay, because it's a conference. I think it's just going to be the membership in the organization.
Oh, I see. You think you could have problems for that?
Yeah, because the conference is just like any other conference.
Yeah.
But it'd be just the fact that I'm not a member now of this of the organization because of that connection.
Well, it would be a very sad thing because
it would, because I enjoy this group. This group is productive.
No, but listen, even if you will not be officially a member, we want you in our group. In any case,
okay.
Maybe you can subscribe your wife. I don't know anyone else just to pay the fee, the membership fee. Never mind. We need you. We need you, Tom. You
well, maybe I could be a guest occasionally.
Informal advisor.
Yeah.
Okay.
But not silent observer.
I'm sorry, Amalie is waiting for half an hour, maybe.
No, not really waiting. I put a note in the chat. It's just looking at Dennis's mail there. The guidelines, he said the principle 5 already accepted. And there's this sort of wording that says remediate all areas affected by their space resource activities and restore them to their original condition upon the completion of such activities. I mean, this is like completely impossible. You once you start digging things up, you can't put them back the way they were before, you know, whatever changes are made. I mean, how can areas be remediated back to their original condition? I just don't understand this at all. What is in...
Well,
The
that's why they're
concept
still
is great,
talking
but
about it.
go ahead, Dennis.
I was just going to say that's why they're still talking about it. And
Yeah.
I think was about to say that they may not be at 100% back to natural remediation,
Exactly.
but it seems that the effort to at least minimalize, or what do they call it? No, I can't remember the right word, but at least minimalize the impacts of resource activity seems to be a laudable goal anyway.
Yeah, no, understood. It's just that the wording is very, you know, it's very sort of specific. It has to be put back to original condition. I just don't understand how that could be agreed to. Really.
Remediation, yeah. Well, that could be one of the things that we make a comment about.
What,
If you have some
Yeah.
language you'd like to send about that, I'll make a note to
Yeah, I think it should be modified because it's very unrealistic. I don't think you could get consensus on that.
when you think about it, like the lunar surface, if you're gonna mine it for helium-3, you're gonna change the albedo of the surface, and that'll take millions of years to change back.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the impact craters from the Apollo third stages. They're still visible on the moon. It will be, I don't know, 10 million years, 20 million years. I mean, before
We could blast about the wording all we wanted, but I think we all are clear what they're trying, what it was trying to get to. What, but yeah, it's a theory, it's a mathematical and theoretical impossibly to restore to its original.
Yeah. See, on Earth, you could do it because you could take the topsoil off, and then you put the topsoil back on with fertilizer, and the plants come back. You don't have that on the moon.
Yeah. So we highly suggest changing the wording of that.
Well, I think, a better way to think about
maybe
this,
to minimize the impact.
Yeah, maybe.
I said a couple of thoughts here. A better way to think about this is just going back to the principles, of the OST. One is, there's a prohibition on environmental harm, a prohibition on environmental modification. So understanding what does that mean with the physics on the lunar surface, right, and the way we would mine there. And then the other point is non-interference, right, with the activities of others. So you have those principles that are in consensus worldwide. At least, we have that consensus through the Outer Space Treaty. So I think that may be a better way of thinking about it. But then the other side of this too is, I think obviously there is going to be some environmental modification. There's no way around that given the physics. You need to think about it in terms of equity, right? Equitable allocation that benefits humanity. That falls in line with the values of SRI, but also with values that are debated around ownership, appropriation, prohibitions on appropriation. All these issues are coming to a fore. And then if you add the fact of some kind of settlement that leads to independence and independent authority of some kind, a state of some kind, or whatever it may be, there's another complication there, and what that would mean for the resources. And just as a side, another concept worth considering, Dennis and Matt and others, there was an interesting group in Colorado. Some of those folks, really got the Space Resources Roundtable going at the Colorado School of Mines. Declan O'Donnell and others, you probably know of them.
I remember I used to belong to that.
Yeah, I did as well. Brad Blair. They talked about a really interesting concept that's kind of lost its traction because Declan O'Donnell died, Brad Blair died.
Yeah.
People who came up with these ideas are not driving it anymore, but it's called metanation. a meta-nation
Yes.
concept. And it's a really interesting concept because it's not a state, it's not a single governing authority, but it's rooted in a partnership, like public-private partnerships could be one modality of that. They talked about public-private partnerships to govern more equitably and you know, in the development of a cislunar economy, lunar resources, et cetera. So that's just another consideration that I think falls better within the values of SRI than maybe thinking about it in a more traditional governance state structure.
Mm-hmm.
One issue that might be relevant is protecting of the resources. The lunar, well, you say atmosphere, but the thing is extremely difficult because every time a rocket lands on the moon, it sends up a plume of dust, which you know is spinning around there forever. Eventually, you won't be able to see your hand in front of your face because all the dust just keeps going round and round. It doesn't settle. There's no atmosphere. You know, protecting the lunar atmosphere, not to have excessive dust, pollution.
Sorry,
Dust pollution.
sorry, but that doesn't happen. When dust gets kicked up, whether it's by a rocket landing on the moon or whether sprayed up from the wheels of the rovers, because there is no atmosphere, it just falls back down again to the surface.
Oh, all right. You know better than me. That wasn't what I've been told. It just keeps going forever, like a sandblasting effect.
No, it doesn't.
Well, people often forget also the electric static forces on the moon. Like there appears to be between the daylight and the night side this cloud that goes around the moon where dust is sort of moved into motion because of the change in electric charge. We don't understand it. We just know that when you look at pictures of the moon, you see a sort of a haze around the terminator between the sunlight and the darkness. And that may have a play on how the stuff gets into the cold traps and that. I mean, we really don't understand a lot of the moon at the moment because we haven't gone back there to study it. But there may be, if that was true, you would have an atmosphere of the moon from the impact craters, and you don't see that. So, you know, there's certain mechanisms going on that we haven't begun to understand the moon, and we need to.
So optimal environmental considerations, not those that would scare everybody else off from space settlement ahead of time, but also at the same time, none whatsoever. But just optimal.
And that's also one of the conflicts because the radio astronomers went the far side, but you could probably do more things on the far side because it won't be visible from Earth than you do on the near side. Because whenever you do something major on the near side, it'll be visible from the Earth. The moon will change a bit depending on the scale resolution, you know, if you're using a big telescope or that. But that's something also that needs to be considered. You know, for instance, if you scrape up a kilometer of helium-3 on the far side, you won't ever see that change in albedo from the Earth. If you do it on the near side, you will. And that has to be a consideration too. What do we mean when we talk about changing the environment? Is there a perspective of that on, you know, whether or not it's visible or not? Is there a visible difference?
These are some pictures generated by artificial intelligence about a lunar motocross.
Yeah, I can't believe it's extraordinary that Jerry tells me this is completely not true. This thing about
it's also got the moon in the background.
Yeah, so I'd like to say it's an asteroid, a near lunar asteroid.
Yeah, this is a lot of misinformation. I was under very different.
AI has its limitations. And a lot of people don't understand it, but there are limitations in AI. Science fiction writers talked about this decades ago when, you know, in stories like A Logic Named Joe and Folded Hands and that. And they're well worth reading because you can see AI is not the complete solution as people have. You have to really be careful of how you apply it and where to do it. You have to be very, very precise in the instructions you give it.
Yeah. Considering the amount of misinformation, it would be very good if some of these, it says remediate all areas affected by space resource activity. If some of these areas could be defined and you know, put some of these ideas to rest and have a more accurate picture of you know, how space resource activities might you know, where the issues will come up within the various types of activities, you know.
Right with asteroids, what happens if you take the whole kilometer asteroid and turn it into machine goods, manufactured goods, and it's no longer there? How do you remediate that? Because it's gone.
Yeah, no, I mean, it just says all areas, but then it doesn't say what are the areas or what are the activities. I mean, for instance, this thing about atmospheric pollution and dust and so on. I mean, I don't know where I get my information from, but I'm very misinformed. I mean, Jerry's given a much more accurate idea here, but it would be good if we can make sure that the best scientific analysis is represented when we talk about the areas and the activities. Maybe put some more definition in there.
If I can say something about this point of the remediation. I think remediation is, I agree that it is unrealistic because the choices are two. Or we think that we will make in space all the things that we are making on Earth, and of course, trying not to repeat all the mistakes, of course, the environmental mistakes and so on. But however, I'm talking about activities. So any of human activities changes the environment. You cannot get the same land that it was before building a city, for instance.
Yeah.
So that is not possible. Or we only think like 60 years ago when the Outer Space Treaty was written, that we will go there to make exploration, to make some scientific research. And even those activities will change the environment, however, because if you take any material, then the material will not be there anymore. So you change it. And if you do anything, if you build some building to live in, even the explorers to stay there, you change the environment. So I think it's a little bit, let me say, and then, okay, if we think about living permanently, my position is I prefer on air solution to live in a free space, big rotating habitats, and go down to the moon to work, to explore, to make research, to mine materials and so on. But for permanent living, I prefer to live in free space than on the surface of the moon. Even only for the point of the gravity, simulated gravity that I will have in a rotating, so I will not be constrained to live at 1/6 gravity on the moon surface and never be able to come back to Earth anymore if one day I will decide. No, I feel nostalgia for Earth. I want to go to Earth. Okay, you go to Earth on a barrel, on an armchair, because you don't have anymore your muscles and your bones and everything, because you are used to the lunar surface gravity. If we live in an on-air habitat, that we have 1G and we can go back to the Earth when we want. This is freedom. My principles, my requirements are humanist requirements. I think for the humans, not for anything else. And so we have, I think, SRI, our concepts are basic concepts are this one, humanist concepts. That's why.
Yeah, but also keep in mind that you're going to be mining the moon for the material for those habitats, and that's going to leave a scar.
If I could add in, Annie's point was well taken. I went back and looked at the principle on remediation, and I posted the full quote in the chat. I had edited out the introduction to that principle, which says, to the greatest extent practicable,
Mhm,
remediate all activities, etc.
mhm.
So there's already that condition there, that understanding it's never going to get back to pristine,
Mhm.
but to the greatest extent practicable. And I'll again remind folks that these principles are only concerning space resource activity, has nothing to do with settlements or building new cities in space or on a celestial body or residences or anything like that. It's only what we might call industrial activity.
And-
Uh, and so in those two ways, I think that the principle does a good job in both limiting itself and providing the conditionality of it has to be practicable to do the remediation.
And you know something? I've been doing some numbers. If you the material you need to excavate to build settlements on the moon has enough aluminum in it to build those settlements if you refined it. Now,
Has enough
aluminum is 13 to 16% of the moon's
aluminum.
regolith in some areas. That's significant.
Yeah, methanation. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah, Jerry, I know I post something in the chat.
Yeah, just that I've looked through the call for papers, and I found 9 session areas where I could give a short presentation. Just to come back to the point about taking material from the surface of the moon. So back in the mid 1970s, when the Island 1 design was produced, this was for a spherical habitat with an internal circumference of about a mile. And the estimate were that it would have a mass of 500,000 tons. And I calculated that if this was scraped off the surface of the moon, you wouldn't have to actually do any mining. Just a single bulldozer would, over the period taken to actually construct it, you wouldn't even keep a single bulldozer busy full time. And it would, if it could take an area that would give 500,000 tons, that would just be about 500 meters square and 7 meters deep. And you would need a very major telescope to be able to see that from Earth.
Okay. Yeah. Good. So I don't know what else we have to say about this discussion. I think Dennis, you have the what is it, timone, okay, of this discussion. So you have to say if we covered the points that you wanted to be covered, and if we know what to do to write a paper, one or maybe more papers for we have some added concepts by Eligar, and that we have to add to our topics. And
I'm sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say that we've certainly covered those 4 policy areas that I mentioned, and 3 of them go directly to writing something for the UN COPOS Space Resources Working Group, Legal Subcommittee, all that. I will say this, I generally will not be involved in SRI's Congress, and I was planning on not being part of the IAC because I know I won't be traveling to Turkey. But this idea of of settlers and settlements and some paper specific to them about rights, how they become autonomous, independent, all those little topics that we've talked about in this meeting and prior meetings. That's real juicy.
Yeah.
And it may be the IAC is a good place for that kind of paper. I don't think Copuous, the earthly states of Copuous aren't
Maybe,
prepared to
yeah.
discuss that yet. But I think the IAC is a good forum for that type of thing. If someone's thinking of going there and talking on this, I'd be willing to work with them, co-author something like that.
Yeah, I think we will go next year in Turkey for sure. We will go.
In that case, I
have
would
to add-
recommend that
I have
topic.
I have to add something that I didn't say before. Maybe someone here doesn't know it. Our Congress in end of June, in the beginning of July, will be a virtual Congress. It will be virtual. It will not be in presence.
Oh, okay.
So everybody can participate. Okay, even if it would be hybrid, however, it will be possible to participate from remote, of course. But we our last board meeting decided to make it virtual because several reasons that we don't have. Okay, the most interesting solution to do it in presence would be Italy, but we don't have. Apart Catanzaro, we made a congress in June in Catanzaro where we have a good team working with the university and so on, so it was possible. But if we wanted to do it in Rome, for instance, or Florence or Padova, then we don't have a staff, a local staff able to organize a conference. And also from the point of view of the financial effort, it would be, of course, very much heavier to make it in presence. But the main problem is another, is that we will have probably next year many difficulties to travel for people from United States, for instance, because of the limitation of the funding for universities and all these kind of things. So probably we will have problems to travel next year. So we couldn't think to have many participants to a conference in presence. Therefore, we decided to make it virtual. Even in 2021, it was virtual and it was excellent, very good Congress. So we can do the same, and so we will have all remote presentations without need to travel and so on. So, well, I think it would be even easier to participate. Thomas.
Yeah, Dennis,
Do we have any
I was just
track-
gonna say, I would work with you on that paper. Dennis, I would work with you on that paper if you
Oh,
want.
thank you, Tom. You would be a great. Would you mind be listed as a co-author then?
Oh, yeah, we can do it together.
Okay.
And you can just email me direct at the university.
Okay. I didn't know, you mentioned earlier something about limitations of association. But
Well,
the
under the state of Texas, we can't belong to organizations that are associated with China, Russia, Venezuela. There's like Iran, there's like about 8 countries. So, and 3 of them are part of the International Lunar Research Station.
I understand. Well, we'll certainly be independent of all that.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah,
it
that's
should-
what I mean.
It'd be
There's a
great
couple
to
other
have you
areas
help
we
out.
could probably put it into, publish it too.
I think
parts of
between
it.
us, we'll manage to cover everything in
Uh-huh.
depth. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, great. So let's see our agenda where we are. Maybe
Adriano, just real quick, did you have any sessions at the IAC and next year in 26? Are there any SR?
okay. Alberto and Bernard will be there, and Alberto is hoping to be there because his flight is now in considered some to be his flight of 26 should be considered, but I hope he can be there the day after and okay. However, we will have some papers presented there. Two papers will be presented by Alberto. One on energy, and the other one on our criticism of the UN Space 2030 agenda. Then we will have Bernard presenting other papers on I don't remember exactly, and we will have also a colleague of Ghanim Al-Otaibi, that will present a paper on the ethos program, the expanding humanity to outer space, the drought context that was organized in 2024. And this year, we will associate this program to the Congress. So we will have some preliminary webinars dedicated to the ethos program. And during the Congress, we will give the prize to the winner of the context. So I hope that Maria Moncarzel, she is the organizer of this program, is contacting you, Eligar, and also Thomas, to be mentors of this program with the JOUT that we participate, and yeah, that this will be part of the Congress. We decided to do that because it's a simplification. We couldn't have too many parallel things to go ahead in the next month. So it is very much better to have it together. Well, I think we finished because works before COP was legal subcommittee. I think it was discussed too, and so maybe we could even close this meeting.
I think we covered it.
Okay. So if anything more, we can close.
Just don't forget,
Jerry, please.
don't forget next week, the first webinar for
Yes, the
IC4
29th.
when I'm talking about Island Zero. Hope to
Yes.
see you all there.
29th of September, next
Yeah.
Monday. Okay. We will have Jerry presenting his update of the design of Island Zero project. A great thing. Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks
All
for
right, I'll see you. Bye.
participating. Thanks for chatting. Thanks for everything. And ad astra.
Bye.
Bye-bye.